So you're looking to build your first RC car kit. You're not sure what to get? Looking for inspiration?
Well, you've clicked on the right video.
Hi there, Mark here again, and I haven't got Rob on the camera today because here he is sat next to me.
Hi!
Check out his channel later. But first, we're going to look at what we think are the best cars to start if it's your first ever build of an RC kit.
And in addition to that, dude, we're going to look at what it's going to take you to build these kits, because we do prefer kits to ready to run.
We sure do. We'll talk about that as well, and we'll see what parts you need to put together, and we'll show you basically how to plug those together to get your car running. So first of all, if you're still unsure about whether to get a kit or not, we certainly urge you, just go out there, don't think about it, just get yourself a kit.
Yeah,
and hopefully
definitely.
Some of this that we're going to talk about will help you make that choice. But why should people build a kit, Rob?
Well, now, basically, when you have a kit, you go through and you actually install it, build it, put it all together, so then you know how it works.
Exactly. So rather than just getting the thing out of the box and turning it on,
yeah,
it takes a fair while, doesn't it, to put these things together.
Yes, it can do.
But once you've done it, it's yours, isn't it? You kind of own it. And there's a lot of pride. I get a lot of pride from building my kits.
Yeah, and me.
So that's a really good part of building your own kits, and the fact that you've got that ownership, you know how it works. If it breaks, you're going to have much more confidence about getting in there and making a fix and getting the parts and putting things right again. So I think that's a good point.
Once you finish the build, you might want to consider starting to upgrade it and putting hop-ups on. Yeah,
over time, definitely, once you've got used to it. Yeah, and it's much easier then because you've built it, you know, it all goes together, you buy the hop-up part, it's much easier for you to fit. Yeah. And it's a big part of the hobby for us, isn't it, mate?
It is, yes, sir.
I don't think there's one of our cars that we haven't modified or hopped up over time. So I think once you get into the hobby and you get used to your kits, you probably want to buy more than one, won't you, once you start.
You're right, definitely.
It really is a fun part of the hobby, so yeah, we'll look at that a bit later. So right, it's about time we had a look at some of these cars that we've chosen, isn't it, Rob?
It certainly is, mate.
So yeah, we've got a selection here, and they're all Tamiyas, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well, but I think
it's time for me to go behind the scenes and get on the camera.
Go for it, Rob. Okay then, so this is a selection of cars that me and Rob have made. We had a bit of a chat, didn't we?
We did.
And we thought about, well, if you're new to RC, you've never built a car before, you haven't got any experience behind you, then these are the ones we would recommend you go for. Apart from this one, which is an exception, because this is a replica of a real car, as you can see, in 1/10 scale. It's beautiful, quite cheap too, really,
it is, Rob? Yeah.
And it's on the same chassis as this one. But as you can see, the bodywork on this is, it is pretty tricky. And I don't think for your very first try, I don't think I would go for this one, but we'll explain more about that later. It's the same chassis as this one here. So we've gone for mainly off-road vehicles, haven't we? We've got some buggies, we've got this little monster truck over here. And the reason for choosing a buggy or a monster truck is because you can drive it anywhere, can't you, mate?
Yeah, dirt, grass, tarmac. Doesn't matter where.
Yep, so whereas, you know, if you go for a road-based car, you're restricted, you know, where you can run them really. So yeah, these for around the garden, up the park, are perfect. And again, we've gone for the cheaper cars. When you're starting out, I don't recommend spending, you know, hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a kit. You might not get the same satisfaction we do out of it, eh, Rob?
Yeah.
It might not be for you. So start cheap and build your way up is what I would say. So I don't think any of these cars are actually, for the car alone, are much more than £100. I think this one is the cheapest, isn't it?
It is.
This is the Rising Fighter. It's Tamiya's entry-level kit. I have seen them as cheap as 65 quid, Rob.
Yeah.
So £65. Obviously, wherever you are in the world, or whenever you're watching this video, might be in the future, check around, obviously, for prices that are available to you. But at the moment, for comparison, we're using British pounds. That's about 65. Just quickly go through these, Rob. This is about 105, 110.
I believe so, yeah.
This one, 80, 90 quid.
Something like that. Mine was a lot cheaper, but
yeah, later. This one's about 110. These are the cheapest prices I can find.
Yeah.
This one's about 100, is it?
Something like that.
You've just bought that, so you know how much the hopper is.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Well, you can't.
It was less than 100.
And that's a special version of the Grasshopper, isn't it, Rob? Because
It is.
it's got
Oil-filled shocks.
Right, so plasma edge at TTO2B.
Yep.
Again, that's about 110, something
Yep.
like that. I think, again, kit only. So they're all pretty cheap, but you will have to buy a load of extras to get them running.
You will.
So with each kit, you pretty much always get this thing here, don't you, Rob?
You do.
Which is your motor. Some of them, I think the TTO2Bs and the TTO2s come with the torque tuned, but most come with the standard 27 turn silver can, as it's called. So that's your motor, you won't have to buy one of those. And most kits come with the ESC, don't they?
Yes.
This is an older one, this is a TBL-E02. You'll probably get an 04 with a new one, but you usually get that as well. But you will have to buy your radio, you'll get the receiver, and you'll get your transmitter. Sometimes with a bundle pack, with a pack for the transmitter, you will get a servo, but not for all of them, is it, Rob?
Not everyone, no. But most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time you do. If you don't get a servo, I recommend just going, you know, you're trying to keep your costs down, go for a cheap one. This Radiant 5 kilogram is ample for all of these kits, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like. And you've just got this 3-wire connector on there, and you'll need to buy a battery as well. And I just quickly showed you how to plug these together. Your battery plugs into your ESC. Your ESC then will plug into your receiver, and your servo plugs into your receiver. So as my good friend Bob told me to remember, channel 1 to turn and channel 2 to burn. So to make it go, you want your ESC channel 2, and your ESC will send the power to the motor, which is plugged in like that, these 2 wires. Now you can search the internet and look for a supply, and you can get all these parts separately, can't you? So you can buy your radio set, you can buy your battery, like I say, you've probably got your ESC. But what I recommend you doing is go to a good dealer and look for what's called a bundle deal.
Yep.
We do that quite a lot, don't we, Rob?
We have done, yes.
I think I definitely did when I started.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to get all the things that you need, because the sellout will do you a package where you'll throw in a battery, a servo, you got your receiver and your transmitter. You can have a twin stick like this, or you generally get an option as well. You can have the steering wheel type radios as well. So yeah, so that'll put all that in the deal together, and it generally saves you a few quid, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Over buying everything individually. So look out for what they call a bundle deal. You can do a search for those on the internet.
And you also get a charger for the battery.
That's a good point, Rob. I forgot about the charger,
You
didn't
did.
I? Yeah, so yeah, you'll need a charger, guys, for this thing. Well remembered, dude. But one thing to remember is if you buy a kit that's got a polycarbonate body, like this one, Rob, or this one, or this one, not those,
No.
you will need to paint them.
You will.
And I don't know any bundle deal that comes with the paint included.
No.
So check around. You'll have to check. It might be worth looking at the manuals on the Tamiya site to find out what colour paints you need. But it does tell you in the manuals. So that's just a little tip here. Make sure you order the paint, because it'll be cheaper ordering it when you buy the whole kit. Otherwise, you have to pay extra postage just for the paint. So just spend a couple of minutes talking about the cars that we've chosen, eh, Rob?
Yeah, definitely.
We'll start with the cheapest and easiest to build, which is this one, I think. It's got a solid rear axle, as you can see there. So the whole of the gearbox and the motor move up and down, which really is quite restrictive. It doesn't really give you much suspension at all.
It doesn't, no.
It only really moves off of, you know, if you jump in it or something. And then you've got this single front arm on the suspension there, which means that when the suspension goes up, the wheel angle changes, which isn't brilliant for handling, but it's a lot of fun. It's very cheap, and it is, like I say, it's probably one of the easiest builds in it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty quick. As I said, you don't have to paint it, which is a bonus. Quick note, most of these have got hop-ups on, so they probably look a little bit different to the standard kits you'll get. Sorry about that, but we can't help keep hopping them up, can we, Rob?
We can't.
This one's pretty stock, by looks anyway.
Yeah.
Again, very similar chassis, isn't it? It's not. Oh, I think it might actually be
The same chassis.
Same chassis. So, but this only comes with the little 380 motor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which gives you decent acceleration, but probably about half the top speed of the bigger motor that Rob's put in here. This is what's called a 540. It's got more top speed, But as I say, it's a good car to start with. This one's suspension a little bit better because they've got oil shocks. But apart from that, again, if money's an issue, then I'd just go for the Rising Fighter.
Yeah.
Handling's pretty similar, isn't it, mate?
Yep.
So that's those two. Staying with easy to build, Lunchbox, a little bit more expensive, but again it's got a similar kind of rear suspension setup with the motor and everything all hinging at once. But you've got these great big monster tyres on this, haven't you, Rob?
Yeah.
It's got
fantastic.
Just springs for suspension, so it's very bouncy, but you get a little bit more kind of a good ride, don't you, with the softer tyres. But don't get me wrong, it's a crazy handling car, bounces all over the place.
And
but
wheelies out the box.
It wheelies, yeah. And this one probably would put the biggest smile on your face, don't you think?
Yeah.
So, like I say, it's a bit more money. On this one you do have to paint the shell. You can paint it any colour you like using Tamiya TS paints. And yeah, I think that's a really good one. If you want to start off for lots of laughs, then the Lunchbox is my tip for you. Okay, moving up the price a little bit, we've got these, again, rear wheel drive buggies. The difference with these are, both of them come with what's called double wishbone suspension. I have changed the top arms on these, but there's an arm at the bottom and an arm at the top. And what happens there, look, is that the wheel angle doesn't change when it goes up and down, so it's much better handling. It comes with all shocks, so those that like soften that stop it from bouncing so much over the bumps. These handle beautifully, don't they, Rob?
They do, yeah.
And I've got to say, for the price, I think out of all of them, I'm probably edging towards this one. Would be my favourite.
It's definitely my favourite.
Yeah, well, that's two of us then. So yeah, I mean, the handling on this is really nice. I've put a brushless motor in, which is another upgrade you can look into later. This thing flies. It's really fast. You know, it's responsive, and it's just, yeah, hell of a lot of fun to drive that one. So that's the DTO 3. And you've got its predecessor, the DTO 2. Slightly different chassis on this one. Again, another great handling buggy. And the reason I'd recommend this version, which is the Sand Viper, is again it comes with oil shocks, and it comes with your double wishbone suspension, and it comes with, would you believe, Rob, ball bearings.
Wow.
Yeah, most of these others come with bushings instead of bearings for the wheels and the gears and so on, but these come with ball bearings as standard. This also comes with adjustable top arms. You see these, Rob, here?
Yep.
So you can turn these in and out to adjust the length. You've got the same at the back. I don't know if you can see that, dude.
Yep.
And what that allows you to do is adjust what's called the camber, which is how much the wheels lean in or out. Probably you'll get used to that when you get into using the buggies a little bit more, but you can change the way it handles by adjusting that camber angle. So that's a really good feature on this, and again, for the money, if you can get one of these, highly recommended. Great fun buggy. And lastly, on to the TTO2. We've got the buggy version and the road car version, and these are the only four-wheel drive cars that are in our recommendation, and they're both TTO2s. As you can see, they look very different, but if you look at the chassis there, look at the length of the suspension arms.
It's about the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you look at the road car version, same chassis, and it's just got shorter arms. There's different steering as well, but we won't go into that now in this video.
No. And also, we should mention that the buggy version comes with oil shocks.
Oh yeah.
But the road version comes with what we come to call pogo sticks.
Pogo sticks, that's it, mate, yeah.
And they are horrible. They
are. The car does bounce around a lot.
Yeah.
Like you say, you can use it for off-road, kind of very mild, rough terrain and short grass. It's pretty good. You can just come with these rally tyres as well, which are rather good. But the suspension is like, you can update it, you can upgrade it, that's fine. But like you say, Rob, for the same price, the buggy does come with these lovely plush. You can see the difference. It's the really soft suspension on these. This isn't standard. See this blue bling on here? Rob's added that to his. It is a fixed arm on the stock one, but having said that, this is still a great handling buggy. As I said, four-wheel drive. It's very neutral handling.
It is, yeah.
You'll have a lot of fun with that, and there are so many hop-ups. That's one of the reasons I've put this in our list.
Yeah.
There's so many hop-ups. Like I said, if you want to just add a few parts every now and again, you can totally change this buggy and make it your own, can't you?
You can.
But it's still a good buggy out of the box. So Rob, as we mentioned earlier, these cars here and that one there have all got what's called polycarbonate bodies. which starts off as something like this. Obviously this is
Yeah.
a road car version, but they all will look similar, and you will need to cut around this. It looks a bit daunting at first, but you need a nice sharp pair of scissors, and preferably some curved small scissors to go around the arches. So that's some of the tools you'll need. You cut these out, then you have to mask off the windows. You get provided a sheet where you stick masking over the windows there, and you spray from the inside with Tamiya PS paint.
Yeah.
There are other makes of PS paint, polycarbonate paint, but I highly recommend using the Tamiya ones. I think it's much better quality, don't you, Rob?
It can be, yeah.
So yeah, that's the downside, or it's a bit, well, I should say that there's more work to do if you've got one of these buggies with a polycarbonate body.
Well, except for me dark impact, part of the edge even.
Good point, because that was pre-cut.
Pre-cut and pre-painted.
Pre-painted.
In
So,
gunmetal.
yeah, you really have to read up the specs when you're looking at what you're buying, don't you? So yeah, that was already done, but there are other versions of this buggy that don't come with pre-prepared bodies, aren't there?
Yeah.
So you need to read the small print on those. These definitely you had to cut out and spray yourself.
You did.
Not the Grasshopper 2.
No.
That's a hard body, which is like this, solid plastic, but that did come in body colour, didn't it, that one?
It did,
that
yeah.
was already black, but a lot of them will come plain white or black usually, and you need to spray these. So this is quite a lot more work if you're going to go for a car that's got the hard body like that. And quickly onto the manual. One of the reasons we picked out the Tamiya cars is because of the manuals. If you're a first time builder, then these are the best manuals in the world, aren't they, Rob?
I think so,
they're
mate.
fantastic to follow. Everything's in simple steps. So for step 1 it tells you all the parts you need, and if you look on the side here, this is a really good bonus for a manual. For step 1 here, which correlates to that, it shows you which parts that you need to put it all together. So you've got your screws there, and you've got that special nut that goes there. And the bonus of this is it's 1-to-1 scale, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
So if you're not sure if you've got the right part, you can get that screw and you can place it over that diagram, and it will be exactly the same size, won't it?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't match up with that diagram, you've got the wrong part, basically. It's the same for all these, isn't it? All the gears, everything you just plonk on top of these diagrams, and you can make sure you've got all the right bits. And it's very simple. It shows you there's arrows that show where everything kind of plugs in together, doesn't it?
Yep.
So yeah.
Some of them actually have arrows to denote which order to do the building.
That's right.
Oh, there we go, just as I said that.
Like these here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it shows do this first, and then after that do this part. So yeah, really easy to follow. And once you've done one build, you'll get into how these manuals work, won't you? So
Yeah.
that's another big plus point for buying a Tamiya kit. So there you go then. So there's some of our choices. But there are a lot more out there. There's a massive selection of Tamiyas out there, and they do a lot of entry-level kits, don't they?
They certainly do, mate.
So, you know, there's quite a few reasons we go for Tamiya. Between us, I think we must have built about 60 cars now.
Wouldn't be surprised.
So I wouldn't say we're experts, we don't know
No.
everything, but we have built a lot of cars. So if there's any questions you've got, anything you want to ask us, then leave a question in the comments, and we'll do our best to get back to you and answer your question. If we can't answer, we'll be honest and say we don't know, but we'll have a try. So one last point, Rob, I think really important, is the RC community we've got here, mainly with Tamiyas, but in general RC on YouTube. So if you're looking to build one of these, or you're building and run into a problem, there's loads of people out there that'd be willing to give you a hand, give you some advice. And so you've got YouTube and you've got Facebook. There's loads of fantastic groups on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Just search them out.
Especially for Tamiya.
Yeah, again, especially for Tamiya, it's got a huge following. So that's one thing I love about it, is the community we've got going on here. It all adds to the hobby, if you ask me. A hobby shared is a better hobby.
Yeah.
Okay then, Rob, I think we've covered everything.
I think so,
We
mate.
probably haven't, but we did our best. But all leaves for me to say is thanks for following along, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next one. And it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
You ain't seen us, right?